All right, so let's get started. Welcome everybody to the live stream here at the Dr. LeGrand show, and we're going to be talking about questions that you guys have that you can type in about anything about fasting, intermittent fasting, or other health questions that you guys want to ask. Because here at the Dr. LeGrand show, we talk about fasting, intermittent fasting, other detoxification videos, as well as other health tip videos that we randomly do. As you know, Mondays we do the fasting on history, and then Thursday we do the science and the how-tos on fasting, and then other random days we'll do other health tip videos. So if you are new here, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button over here and make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other videos that we do here. Okay, so I'm going to answer a few questions that people asked on this show about previously, and there's one extensive one that I kind of want to first discuss. It's about 5 different questions here, but some great questions. The first question is because he's doing some fasting, he or she, let me go pull up, the person is Scarv XO, sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, but is doing some fasting and asked some questions because they're trying to avoid certain things, but also they asked the question, should I avoid rice altogether, even just within their food? Now, it really depends on really what you're trying to accomplish, but I think the question that he's trying to ask is that should you avoid rice if that kind of has to hinder your blood sugar levels? Well, white rice or any kind of white processed foods will increase your blood sugar levels, but really trying to use more grains that are like brown rice or even just quinoa, buckwheat. White rice will increase your blood sugar level, so if you do have a sugar sensitivity, sure, avoiding white rice and trying to use other different types of rice. I think that's the question that you're asking. Other question that you asked was, can fasting prevent sugar disease? The simple answer is yes. If you're talking about basically sugar sensitivities that we get over time, especially for people who become diabetic, become insulin resistant, fasting has shown significant improvements in decreasing insulin levels, increasing our metabolism levels, as well as increasing our growth hormones for when we fast. So ultimately, if you really are trying to decrease insulin resistance and blood sugar sensitivities, fasting is probably one of the best methods and practices to do that. So hopefully that answers your question that you're asking about. But then the other question that he asked about here was how to keep insulin levels in check. Well, ways to do that is, of course, check your hemoglobin A1C levels, having your doctor check that, doing some other blood work. You can also do, random blood sugar checks. So those are very inexpensive now that you can just purchase online by checking your blood sugar levels. What I typically will tell patients is that you can check about 2 to 3 hours after eating. I like to see blood sugar levels ideally after 2 to 3 hours after eating from 90 to 99. So it just really depends on a fasting. When they usually normally will check it from a comprehensive metabolic panel, they are just looking to make sure that it's staying below the 100 level. And then of course, concern levels are going to be when you're hitting at more 126 levels after an 8-hour fast when they're checking those blood sugar levels. But hemoglobin A1C is the best way to kind of really look at insulin levels, so you can kind of check that. So when you are doing fasting, it is good to, even before you do fasting, to check your hemoglobin A1C levels as well as other blood sugar, get a good average just to see what it is before. And then as you're starting to implement fasting, check in again, see how well it has helped with fasting. And there's been plenty of research that has shown this, that it has reduced insulin resistance, has reduced sugar sensitivity. So it's definitely very significant when it comes to fasting. Now, okay, we got Tamara Smith here from Auburn, Washington. Welcome, Tamara. She asked the question, what is the effect of fasting on the adrenals? That's a great question. So really when it comes to the adrenals, we're looking at different hormones such as our cortisol, as well as our stress hormones, norepinephrine and epinephrine. So when you're going through a fasting, now our body can, when you go through fasting, it will go under stress a little bit. Now it's good stress. It will stress it out a little bit. Cortisol levels can peak a little bit, but it isn't a bad stress. So when it comes to fasting, really reducing the excess amounts of waste in our body can, because our adrenals is really compensating for the stress. And also if there is spiked levels of cortisol, which ultimately really will cause more insulin resistance, which that has to do with more weight issues. So that will put less stress on the adrenals by bringing down the cortisol levels over time, as well as bringing down the insulin levels. So that really in itself, by reducing the insulin levels, can really also help impact with giving the adrenals a break as well. Let's see here. We also got Valerie Vitality. Welcome. And let's see here. Coming from California, San Francisco Bay Area. All right. So yeah, if you have any questions, this is a live chat, so just go ahead and leave those in the comment section below. This is for really just to get your guys' questions answered in this live chat. But I'm going to kind of continue with some. There's more questions also that were asked here. Let me see here. The other thing that was asked by the same person was more about honey. They wanted to know if a single spoonful of honey, natural honey, not the ones that you get in stores where they add all the extra corn syrup and stuff like that, where 100% honey, if it's good for you. What I say, especially in this same person, if they're dealing with sugar sensitivities, definitely I try to just tell patients just to really avoid any also natural sugars or processed sugars. Really stick with more of a healthy eater habits, you know, using more fruits in its full form. Honey, you think about it, I mean, or if you're dealing with allergies, eating local honey can have some benefits from there, but eating straight up honey, if you have sugar sensitivities, I would just avoid it altogether. There's really no need to add these sweeteners if you're trying to really bring down your carbs, and if you're trying to lose the weight, trying to just avoid any kind of natural forms of sugars. So really that's kind of the short answer for that. Now Valerie Vitality, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, asked the question, can we add lemon to the water occasionally? So I did do a video on this recently, and again, Dr. Goldenhammer, I've mentioned about him several times in some of my videos. He is the guy who runs the True North Health Clinic down in California. I think it's, if I remember off the top of my head, it's San Jose. Yeah, that's where it is. I think it's San Jose. When he puts patients, so it's a stay-in facility clinic for really intensive patients that are really on tons of medications, but for everybody. But they deal with a lot of really high intensive patients where they will put them on week-long fast, couple week-long fast. But he mentions that he doesn't even put used lemon water. The reason being, and I mentioned this in one of my videos, is because lemon still has a little bit of carbs. It has a little bit, but they have found that when you go through fasting, you're losing a lot of water weight, and it's called diuresis, where you're basically losing all that water weight. And they found that even just a little hint of carbs, it can reverse that. So if you're trying to lose a lot of weight and benefits from that, I wouldn't use lemon water. Now, if you are first starting out, it's fine. Use lemon water. You know, if you need to kind of start off with that, especially for people who are electrolyte deficient, using electrolytes I would definitely encourage, so you don't have to deal with the lightheadedness, headaches, nausea that comes with fasting. But as far as lemon water, if you could do it without, I'd say do it without it. It's just preference. So some people, when they're first doing fasting, it's what I call as liquid fasts. So they're doing like things like bone broths, veggie broths, has a little electrolytes in there, has a little bit of teeny bit of like carbs. I mean, not much, but it's a way to kind of get them eased into doing a full-on water-only fast where you're just only doing water and putting nothing else. Now you're not taking any supplements. Now for people who tend to have a lot of symptoms, need those electrolytes. So doing like electrolyte drinks and stuff like that can be really helpful. So hopefully that answers your question. Oh, Santa Rosa. Thank you. Well, you're talking, yeah, Santa Rosa is where True North is. I don't know why I said San Jose. I think it's because I have a friend down in San Jose, I believe. They all start with S. A lot of places in California, I feel like, start with San or Santa or whatever. All right, and then moving on, there's a few other questions by the same person that asked. It's about water intake. He was advised to drink a lot of water, and he wanted to know how much water is too much water. This is a great question. And I don't want water weight in my body. He says he drinks 7 liters water per day, and asking if that's too much. Wow, 7 liters. That's like what? Almost 240 ounces of water? I don't know if to do the math to really know. I check here. Yes, it is. It's 236. Almost 240 ounces of water. So general rule of thumb, what I say when it comes to water intake is you take half your body weight and you put it in ounces. So if you're 200 pounds, you know, that means you drink 100 ounces of water. Now that being said, the question is, how much is too much water? Now there's ways of kind of looking at, of course, your urine quality. Now as you're doing a water-only fast, your urine quality is going to be clear regardless, because you're not eating anything and you're just consuming water. But for the day-to-day when you're not fasting, your urine quality should be, you know, not too clear, not too yellow, just right in that medium, and not super cloudy either. That being said, what can happen with people is sometimes they'll just drink a big glass of water in the morning, a big glass of water maybe in the afternoon, and then at night. I recommend carrying, you know, a water bottle around, you know, just taking a swig a minute. That's what I usually tell my patients, to take a swig a minute. It's really hard to kind of keep doing that, but at least the idea is trying to swig every once in a while when you kind of remember just to take it. Trying to just spread out your water intake so your body is utilizing it, and trying to keep in with that, you know, half your body weight, put it in ounces, that's how much water you should be consuming. Now, if you are exercising and we're in the summer months, usually I say about adding another about 20 plus ounces, depending how intense you're exercising, you will need a little bit more water. But you don't want to be consuming too much water, because if you're going over and beyond that, you could be depleting yourself of a lot of electrolytes. So if you're finding that your urine color is more clear, and you really are finding, even in your blood work and some other kind, I do urine analysis samples of looking at electrolytes, but seeing that if that electrolyte levels are insufficient, they're decreased, you're probably taking too much water. So great question, but really just the general rule of thumb is just take half your body weight, put it in ounces, and that's how much you should be drinking. No more than that, really, and drinking it throughout the day versus having a big glass here, big glass here, big glass here. Now, the reason why you don't want to be drinking just a big glass here, because, again, it's just going to go straight through your body. It could really deplete, because you also need electrolytes. Electrolytes also are important to keep us hydrated. We need, you know, the water and also electrolytes to keep us hydrated. So somebody who just does distilled water and they're already electrolyte insufficient to begin with, they're just going to even keep themselves even more dehydrated. So it really is just looking at your own body chemistry, seeing where you're at in that point. Okay, so great question. If you have any further questions on that, go ahead and just leave that in the comments section below. Let's see here. So moving on to the next question that was asked. If I can go back to it. Here we go. Okay. So there was another person that asked a question about psoriasis, and it was let's see the person's name, Valdez LAW1. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he asked, or she asked the question, I have psoriasis. I'm currently on a 6-day fast. Basically, he's asking the question, how long does it take how long do you need to fast to get rid of your psoriasis? And you guys ask this question a lot on a lot of my videos when I talk about like digestion, like the recent one I talked about digestion, how long does it take to get rid of your symptoms? Again, it all depends. We're all unique. We all, are individual case by case basis. But with psoriasis in mind, if it is a food allergy related issue, which what I see is a lot of issues when I see patients with psoriasis, if it is a food allergy related issue, or even with people who have eczema, so just talking about skin issues in general, it could take up to almost 2 months, even more, depending on what the food allergy is, to get out of your system. Now, I'm definitely not saying you need to fast that long, not at all. But what you can do is, if you know the certain culprits, or if you ever have done a food allergy test, which is going to be the easiest way just to see what kind of food allergies that you might have, doing a scratch food allergy test to see what kind of foods that you might be allergic to and eliminate that. And it'll take a couple months just to get it out of your system. But with fasting, what's nice about that is if you are doing a long fast, let's say it's a 7-day long fast, well, you're eliminating all foods. Then if you know certain culprits, so let's say it's just wheat or dairy, some 2 big common ones, then what you can do is you reintroduce it back into your system. So you just reintroduce one. So let's say you just reintroduce wheat. You see if your psoriasis symptoms get worse, or even just other symptoms in general, your digestion, maybe feeling more lightheaded, whatever symptoms you want to record that you're feeling after you're reintroducing it, then you might say, okay, this might be the culprit. So then that's what's nice about doing fasting versus just doing the elimination diet, where you just guess which foods to eliminate and do that for 2 months. Whereas fasting, it's kind of a quick way to kind of see what could be the food triggers. And I have in my previous video, I think it was on the digestion one, I did leave one of my free guide on doing elimination diet with fasting. And if you guys are interested, I can leave that in this video, or at least the recorded video, not the live one, but the recorded video of this video, and I can leave that in the description below if you guys are interested. But really, that is just the short and answer way to know how long it's going to take. But if you're consistently fasting, what's nice about that, if you're consistently fasting on a weekly basis, doing short-term fasts versus just doing a long-term fast here and there, it really can help start decreasing the inflammation of whatever is causing the psoriasis issue. But it is case by case. So hopefully that answers your question. But let's go ahead and go on to the next question here. And I believe it had to do with on the digestion. So yeah, same question, asking about how long this individual was asking about. They've had a lot of digestive complaints, and they wanted, because I just posted that video about the animation on digestion, how fasting benefits digestion. And if you guys haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link here, somewhere here on the recorded video. Obviously not right here, but the recorded video of the fasting benefits on digestion. But ask the questions, particularly how long does it take to see symptoms. She mentioned, I think she's been fasting about 5 days, water fasting, and doesn't want to prolong that just because probably some other health kind of concerns without having somebody like a doctor kind of monitoring her. But what I recommend is that, especially for digestive stuff, is that you try to do more consistent short-term fasts for a long period of time. So, I've shared my story about, dealing with IBS, and it still kicks in here and there, still deal with some digestive complaints. But since I've implemented fasting, that really kind of helps avoid a lot of the triggers. But what's also very key is how when you reintroduce foods back in, because if you reintroduce foods too quickly, you're going to have a really bad issues with your digestion. Because it's like trying to wake it up again, and you just throw a bunch of food in front of it, it's not going to be very happy. I know from experience, when I just forget to break my fast properly, that can be an issue. So you have to understand, by breaking off fast, by starting with some healthy vegetables, some healthy fats, just like a small snack, then about an hour or so later, then you could probably introduce your main course meal. But some people, they're even more sensitive. Sometimes they just have to do it by little, doing some liquids, and then start adding some meats and stuff like that. It really depends on the person. But general rule of thumb is, as long as you just give it a small snack with some healthy fats and vegetables to wake up the stomach, wake up the digestion, get the digestive juices going and flowing, then you can kind of move towards your main course meal after about an hour later. So, but with as far as how long it takes to, how long you need to fast for in order to see the benefits of the digestion issues. Now, in the studies I talked about, a lot of them, did 3-day fasts. Some of them were even, I think, extensive, where they did a 10-day fast and refed for 5 days when they received the benefits. So that's two different ones from just that study. There was ones that did for 3 days, saw benefits. There's one that took them 10 days before they saw benefits. Again, that really is why it really depends on the person. But I recommend using fasting as a lifestyle habit. Just incorporating, doing 24, 36-hour, 48-hour fast, maybe once a week or twice a week. And then, of course, implementing, every once in a while doing a long-term fast. But what is also important is to see what is going on mechanically. So, best to kind of find a really good doctor that can look at what is going on with your digestion, looking at your body chemistry, running some great blood work, some urine and saliva analysis, looking at other things as far as, is there's too much acidity in your stomach, or is it more of a mental emotional thing? So there's a lot of different triggers when it comes to digestion. And when I work with my patients, it's looking at it all, making sure that we're covering all bases when it comes to digestion. So fasting can help, but if you're not covering things that need to be addressed, such as the mental emotional piece, if there's a lot of high stress in your life, that can be triggering the digestive issues, or if it's more like a mechanical or biochemical issue where you are not producing enough acidity, or you have too much acidity in your stomach. Or it could be a food allergy related thing. So talking back with the psoriasis, same with foods. So eliminating certain foods, and you can use fasting, like I said about the psoriasis thing, same concept, is that you can pick some culprits that you think that might be and reintroduce those back in when you break your fast and see if that makes your symptoms worse. And then you could just start eliminating it and see if that helps improve. So those are just some tips that you can do. And again, I'll probably go ahead and leave that link of the elimination diet guide for fasting I did on my previous video. I think it was actually the digestion fasting benefit digest video. That link is in there of the free guide, but I'll leave it in this one here as well. So that is just, so is there any other questions here on the live chat that people have? I think I got to all of them, to my understanding. Just double checking here. So just let me know if you guys have any other questions before we end this. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that answered all your guys' questions. I'm planning on doing these live chats probably every other week for right now. I'm doing quite a bit, but I'm trying to, where we do these live chats every other week on the Thursdays that I normally do the fasting videos on science and the how-tos, and then of course the fasting videos on Monday where it's fasting and history, and then of course I do the other random health tip videos on random days. But I'm planning on doing this for right now every other week. Eventually we'll probably turn this into something that we might do once a week. Let me know if you guys are interested in me doing this weekly, the live Q&A questions. But right now I'm just going to do it every other week until I can kind of figure out with my schedule where I can kind of do this more often. But if you have any other questions, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. Just checking here. Thank you, Valeria Vitality, for the information. It's my pleasure helping you guys out, giving you guys content as much as possible. So if you guys have any further questions, you can leave a comment in the comment section below, especially if you missed the live chat. I'll be posting the recording of this video. And then, of course, if you have not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and hit this button over here. And then I'll leave some other links over here in the recording of other videos that you guys can check out. So thank you for watching. Until next time, this is Dr. LeGrand out. Thanks. Bye.